Good evening, and welcome to ASIST Student Chapter's World Usability Day Faculty Talk. My name is Sarah Emerson, and I'm currently chair of the SJSU ASIST Student Chapter. Because today, November 10th, is World Usability Day, it is with great pleasure that we hold a faculty talk this evening that celebrates and draws awareness to the topic of usability. Tonight's presentation will last approximately an hour and a half, including time provided for a Q&A session after the presentation. Additionally, after the faculty talk, from 7:30 to 8 p.m., this Illuminate session will continue, during which time the two SJSU SLIS teams that participated these past 24 hours in the usability scavenger hunt will share their results with the audience. This will be really interesting, so we hope you'll stick around after the talk for the scavenger hunt share out. At this time, I will now turn the mic over to Frank Florian, the ASIST Student Chapter Program Director, who has the distinct honor of introducing tonight's guest speaker.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. As Sarah just mentioned, today is World Usability Day, and we thought it would be nice to have a speaker give a talk for our chapter related to this. And we are very pleased that Jeremy Kemp, one of our resident usability experts here at SLIS, has agreed to talk to our chapter this evening. And also, as Sarah mentioned, I'll mention it again, we're having a follow-up meeting for a scavenger hunt that took place over the past 24 hours. Even if you didn't participate, you're welcome to stick around and hear what we did and sort of what our impressions and sharings are from that experience. We may actually even be looking at some of the things we found and posted as part of this scavenger hunt. Okay, so let me briefly introduce our speaker tonight. Dr. Kemp has a doctorate in education and master's degrees, from both Stanford and Northwestern University. He is a full-time faculty member at SLIS and started teaching online in 1999. At SLIS, he has taught Library 246, Advanced Information Technology Tools, Library 251, Interface Design for Information Systems, and Library 287, Seminar in Information Science. He has been an active proponent and user of the Second Life immersive learning environment and keeps the official wiki for educators using the Second Life environment. His instructional technology project connecting Moodle and Second Life has attracted hundreds of participants from around the world. Dr. Kemp's talk tonight is titled, How Will We Define Web 3.0? So without any further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome. Oops, sorry, I think I jumped ahead. So please, without any further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Jeremy Kemp.
Thank you so much, Frank. I really appreciate Sarah and Frank here today, and I'm very honored to be here to present to you students and members of the ASIST organization. I took away a couple of slides. I think I might have confused Frank, but really I wanted to ask all of you to use the highlighter on the left-hand side and show us where you are. Here I am over here. Right now I'm in San Jose. So you can use the drawing tools or the highlighter and mark yourself on that map. That'd be great. Usually when I'm teaching students, when I've got the classes running and we do this, it's usually mostly Bay Area with maybe 5 or 10% outside in the United States, and then maybe 10 or 15% in Southern California. So this is a really nice spread. We've got folks, nobody from outside of the state of California is attending tonight? Jennifer, you're in Florida, I take it. Hi, Diane. So you're in Florida. Great. So this topic asks, how will we define Web 3.0? Web 2.0 is a marketing term about the social web. We occasionally hear this topic, Web 3.0. So how do we define it? And I think we first need to start off by learning and seeing how we would forecast it, how we would forecast emerging technologies for use in library and information spaces. So let me talk about a few of those methods first. The first, probably the most popular method, is the Delphi method, which is a structured approach where groups of experts get together and are given a structured set of questions and technologies and things that might happen in the future. And a very famous example of this, I think, now is the Horizon Report. And many of the innovations and emerging technologies that I'm going to talk about in this presentation come directly out of the Horizon Report. So it's quite effective at finding new technologies and emerging techniques in library and information science as well. So it has the attribute of being anonymous. So the panel of experts get together and make their determination about whether something is going to be happening. In the case of the Horizon Report, in the 1 to 2 year time frame, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. So it has a horizon for when these technologies will be coming into the mainstream. The panel gives a numerical response, and they also give summary feedback in text. So they'll write a description out of what they think about the specific technology, the specific innovation that they're looking at. Then I think really importantly, too, is that it's an iterative thing. So there's a second round. All of those results come back from the experts and are digested and reformatted and then sent back out to the group. So that's the Delphi method for forecasting. Another method would be trend analysis. So you've heard Moore's law. Kurzweil's singularity talks about how technology and innovation happens in a logarithmic way. It doesn't happen, it happens exponentially. It doesn't happen in a regular progression. So humans, we have a real hard time making forecasts in that sort of setting because things happen and progress faster over time. So that's an interesting YouTube video with Ray Kurzweil talking about his singularity. And the coming singularity is when all of technology is equal to the processing power of all of humanity. I want to show a video now quickly. This is another forecasting method. You could call it anthropomorphization. Technology as an organism. So what does the technology want? So the technium, he defines this technium is a sphere of visible technology and intangible organizations that form what we think of as modern culture. So it's the current accumulation of all that humans have created. So I'd like to take a quick break here and play this video with all of you. So I'm going to let me go and grab that URL for you. So what I want you to do, this is a short video, what I want to do is have the group start this video, and then when you're done, go ahead and make a smiley face. Actually, raise your hand. Use the raise hand button. So I'm going to put this URL here now. Click on this URL and watch the video. It's a short video, and when we're done, come back and we'll continue on with the presentation. So I'm going to start it now and then be back in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and click on that link. Okay, that's a really interesting take on forecasting, anthropomorphizing technology, and the really interesting piece at the end talking about how do people refuse technology I think I've seen that a lot very personally in the way that many of the students when I first came to SJSU and started working on Second Life and got a real strong pushback from a few folks, and I was able to understand why that was happening through my doctoral research. I'll chat a little bit about that here in a sec. So I want to introduce you to a free resource. This is a book published. It's available for free on the web through the National Research Council and nap.edu. If you go to nap.edu, you can search for disruptive technologies. And this is a thick, well, it's a pretty nice booklet, 120 pages, that talks about methods for forecasting disruptive technologies. Disruptive is almost becoming a cliched phrase now. That when a technology comes in, new methods come in, they disrupt the old order, and whole industries are wiped out. Like classified advertising and journalism is a really good example. When Craigslist came in, that industry was completely disrupted and had to sort of reinvent itself. Oh, thanks, Frank. So I told you a little bit about the rejection, the process of rejecting a technology, and this is a forecasting method here. This is the universal or the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology, and this is from Venkatesh in 2003. So this is a statistical model for, this is quantitative research. So I gathered 410 surveys from students who had used Second Life as part of their 203, the new media, the social media course, the one credit course that everybody starts with here at SJSU. And I put those surveys into this model and found some pretty interesting reasons why some folks would be willing to use Second Life and other folks would not be particularly interested in using it. I thought it was very interesting that things like facilitating conditions, so this is facilitating conditions, talks about do you have proper technical support, do you have proper bandwidth, do you have the software loaded, all those things. It really was not very important at all to our students. Much more important were things like social influence. Did people that you respect think you should do it? And probably the most impactful reasons for rejecting that technology were age and gender. I found that in particular women in their 20s were much less likely to be interested in using Second Life, the Second Life immersive technology, than were women in their 40s. Women in their 40s were much more open to using the technology and had more interest in using it. So I thought that was really interesting. So what Kevin Kelly talks about is why do people reject a technology or refuse a technology? That's a very interesting topic, and I think that's very applicable to what we do in library information science as well. So here, one of the questions, these were Likert scale questions. So there were 4 questions at the bottom. You can see I would find the system useful in my job, and then I asked the students to rate them on with the Likert scale. So that's forecasting. A few methods for forecasting, including, we talked about the Delphi method, quick overview. We talked about trend analysis, things like Kurzweil and Moore's law. We talked about sort of odder ways of forecasting technologies, anthropomorphizing it, and looking at what it wants. What does technology want? And that's Kevin Kelly's book, recently published. So here are a few definitions, possible candidates for Web 3.0, and these are all from literature. The Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things is Web 3.0. I'll show you a little bit about microcontrollers. I'm going to show you about 3 specific projects over time that I've worked on while at the school and a little bit earlier, and turn those into a working definition for Web 3.0. So I'm going to show you a project I did with microcontrollers. I'm going to show you a project I did with web applications for the iPad, for e-books, and also for integrated library system integrations. Then here's another candidate, the mobile web. So the ability for your cell phone to know where it is and to interact with the web in a different way than you would get on a desktop. So the mobile web, some people have called Web 3.0 the mobile web. Probably the most common definition is the semantic web, using linked data and working with databases that connect with each other in interesting ways. So formatting your data in such a way so that you can link it to other data and work in applications across the cloud. Another way to think of that is the cloud, the internet. Another way that I've heard Web 3.0 referred to as the immersive web, 3D visualizations, taking data and creating 3D models and kind of goofy, you know, social stuff with avatars and dressing up and all that, but that's all part of the immersive web. And so I want to talk about 3 projects I did, one in the Internet of Things, one in web apps in the mobile web, and one in the immersive web. So I'm going to go over some of those projects with you. How will we define Web 3.0? That's my question for the session, and the answer is we will make it. Librarians, information science people will make Web 3.0. How many of you are involved at all in the maker movement or have done any creation of things, bits, physical creation? Yeah, Kristen. Kristen, what have you done? I'm curious to hear what you did. If you have a mic or chat.
I've just gone to Maker Faire every year, I think, and I occasionally attempt a project from Make magazine. I built the cigar box guitar they had.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So does anybody else subscribe to Make magazine? I thought that was a cute quote underneath Nerds Are Cool. But really, this is picking up. This whole movement is picking up a lot of speed. Autodesk bought a website called Instructables. Microsoft is doing some interesting stuff. If you've heard of the Kinect, they're really allowing and encouraging people to pull the Kinect apart and do interesting things with that. The Wii, as well, has been used in libraries. Microsoft just launched the Gadgeteer, which is a sort of a do-it-yourself microcontroller platform. And there are a bunch of websites and companies that will help folks build stuff. MakerBot, Adafruit. So there's a growing movement here to build things and to create things. And so I think that's the thesis of my talk tonight is Web 3.0 is out there and we can build it. We can make it. So let's talk about making the Internet of Things, and I'll show you some example applications and how that works. So at a recent visit to the library, this is a use case. So this is an imaginary situation where this sorts of technology or new methods might be useful in a library. So at a recent visit to the library, Joshua Smithson borrowed a few fiction books from the library, and he does that each week. He visits the library during his lunch break and spends most of his time in the browsing collection. So Smithson has never visited the library's website. His only interaction with the digital library is through touchscreens on the checkout stations. And you can see that when he's done with books, he walks into the branch and drops them off. So this is a completely physical interaction. So you can see really a 3-stage process. He's browsing with his hands on the books. He's checking out with a touch screen, and he's using a barcode reader but not really kind of interested in what it does, or it doesn't have anything to do other than the OPAC's connection, the ILS's connection to the book itself. And he has hands on the Dropbox. So he returns those books. So it's a completely physical relationship really that he has with the library. He's not involved with the digital collection at all. So how will Mr. Smithson ever learn about ebooks? The library is investing a lot of money and people and time into gathering ebooks and making them available for clients. Mr. Smithson, who really represents a large majority of the clientele, has no access and no interest and no connection to those ebooks. So what are some solutions there? And the Internet of Things, here's a very simple example. When he checks those books back in, it says, "Thank you. Did you know the library added 76 new ebooks this week? Ask for a sample at the checkout counter." And he goes to the checkout counter and he says, "Hey, how can I use these e-books in the library?" And the person on the counter, all the e-books are in the catalog. He heads over to the catalog. He's never used it before, but he heads on over there and finds out that his particular author of fiction books is available in e-books. So how did that Internet of Things application exist? How did that happen? And how could library and information science people make that happen? So some other interesting platforms here. That was a microcontroller, and I'll talk about that. You could also do quick response codes, QR codes, RFID systems. These things are entering the library very rapidly, and library and information science people, you, new graduates, are going to be doing it. So also, some other interesting technologies here are near field communications, NFC, and so you can do financial transactions on a cell phone, and also on the right-hand side, augmented reality. And I'll talk about augmented reality later on in the presentation. By the way, these slides were created by Bernd Becker, who's at MLK Library. So he co-presented with me in the 2.011, and this slide is from that topic. Let me show you an example of near-field communication on my webcam. I'm going to start up here. Tell me if you can see these little guys here. Can you see my hands? Okay, great. These are what's called SIFTIO cubes. Great. And they have sound, actually, but I'm not going to play that. Let me start them up. I'm playing a game called Booker the Penguin, and you can see, so I'm moving these cubes around in order to, oh, I just lost. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the main menu. Okay, and these are my options here. I'm going to choose adventure mode. So that's a clickable. It's a clickable button. And I'm going to begin an adventure. And it says connect matching roads to move Booker, find the eggs. And here's the instructions on the game here. The start button's right here. I'm going to click on that. All right, so now it's counting down. All three of these cubes are communicating with each other. Booker, the little penguin right there, and you can see he's got a little cave there. I'm going to take this cube and place him right next to that cube, and the two cubes are communicating with each other via near field communication, NFC. So now I've got another choice here for Booker, and Booker goes over there. And another choice here. There we go. So these cubes, the SIFTIO cubes, are communicating with each other via near field communication. Just as if you had your cell phone and you were making a pay transaction, or your credit card and you were making a pay transaction against an NFC receiver. So this is an interesting kind of physical objects that communicate with my computer and with each other using NFC. Let me turn those off. Okay, that's NFC. You can see on the left-hand side, most typical kind of application is going to be the commerce, cell phone commerce. But you saw one application with a learning and instructional design project where you have these cubes, the SIFTIO cubes. They look like this, and it's called SIFTIO, S-I-F-T-E-O. And if you go to siftio.com, you can find them there. So I'm going to now talk to you about another technology. This is the thing that worked on the book return that Mr. Smithson did. That's not NFC, that's actually microcontroller. So these are a new trend, and you'll see this a lot in Make magazine, a new trend in microcontrollers where you can take pretty inexpensive computers, this whole computer is $30, $35, and connect wires up in a really flexible way. And there are easy to use programming tools that connect with the hardware, and the hardware that connects to each other in a really easy way. So these items sense the environment, receive input from a lot of different sensors actually. In the case of Mr. Smithson, that was a infrared sensor that sensed when the book return sent a book down the chute. So it's just a couple of little sensors on each side of that chute that show when the book goes through. So microcontrollers, let me show you what microcontrollers look like. And this is the Internet of Things. So let me show you. Here we got, this is the Arduino, the main board here, which has all these sensor panels and power input and USB input as well. So the Arduino is the brains that then connect to, in this case, the sound. So here's the sound board. You can see the sound board comes with a speaker, and it has a card that includes the sound files. So these guys fit right on top of each other like this. A very simple kind of a hardware connection. And then you would do things like, let me pull this guy off here. If you wanted to connect to your ILS, there's another board here that has the Ethernet cable. So the Ethernet connects here. And if you wanted to, for instance, have a range sensor, so this is a range sensor that connects to one of the sensor pins, and you would connect it that way. So then the program for this board comes in through the computer, and I program it on a free piece of software from the Macintosh. So these are microcontrollers, a very kind of crude beginning and basic version of the Internet of Things. But you also saw the Siftio cubes, which is a little bit further along. This one is capable of doing near-field communication and QR codes and barcode reading. It's just a matter of finding the right applications and the right hardware to connect to it. So that is the Internet of Things. And another way to call those would be the smart objects. So these are some components. You just saw, actually you just saw this component on the video. So Web 3.0 as defined by the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things. So that's one definition, one possible definition. And you can get more information here at Arduino, Makershed, Adafruit. If you search for smart objects or microcontrollers, you'll find plenty of places to find these things. Okay, so any questions before I move on to the next possible definition of Web 3.0? Okay, so here's another definition. Web apps. Making web apps is Web 3.0. So I taught a class last year, I think it was fall 2010. That was the description. And then I asked the students in an Illuminate session to highlight the pieces that they really wanted to cover in the class. So I thought that was interesting that they wanted to cover these things, that they were very interested in handheld devices, making them more accessible, developing web pages, looking at the ebook trend. These were all things that we covered in the class. So it was interesting to look at the top, at the time, the top paid iPad apps. This was fall 2010. You can see the list there. Some pretty interesting and recognizable things. Angry Birds, of course. Everybody knows that. Saw a lot of Halloween costumes about that. And then the top free iPad apps. And if you take a look at these, I'm going to combine these lists and show you something interesting. Combine these lists and then pull out things that would be interesting in the library. Actually, quite a bit of information here, quite a bit of applications and possible library uses for the highest grossing and the most popular apps on the iPad. So obviously the iPad has a lot of implications for the library. So we took a look at the iPhone application development tools, and we created applications for the iPhone that work on the iPad. And we used this book. This is an interesting book, iPhone Apps from O'Reilly. I thought this was interesting too, because we at first were really worried that we're going to have to learn a higher end programming language like Cocoa. But it turned out that we could do quite a bit of what we wanted to do with straight HTML style sheets in JavaScript. So we didn't actually have to dig down and do C style coding. You do have to do C style coding for the Arduino stuff, the Internet of Things applications. So what did we do? What did we make? So that I showed you one application that was made, that's in the process of being made on the Internet of Things. But what about the web apps? These are some applications, some web apps, and some publications that the students created, and I wanted to show you some of these. These were highlighted quite a bit in the annual report for SJSU, the last annual report. The class only had had 7 students in it, and half of them were featured in the annual report for the school. That was great. First off, take the library science web page and convert it to a web app. That was what one of the students did. So you can see here the images, the links. These are actually kind of difficult to get working right. A lot of students struggled with the images and the links for these apps. There are a number of libraries that make, JavaScript libraries that make these sorts of menuing, like disappearing menus and collapsing menus possible in straight web code. This is an interesting one, to take an art museum, very colorful piece, and break it down into something that worked on the iPhone. In this case, we lost a lot of the depth and the sort of the emotional impact of the website. This is a very interesting Exploded Goat, a website that became a web app. On the right-hand side, you can see the iPad view of that web app. And then this is more generic, a generic view of some of the difficulties. On the left-hand side, the menu. On the right-hand side, these photos and links, like the link at the top. This is hard stuff. This is hard work to do in JavaScript. So we also in that class made e-books. I'll show you some of the e-books that we created. So first off, you have to be able to view the books. And on the PC, we used digital editions and Stanza, and you can also get iBooks now through iTunes. Pretty simple books. The EPUB format doesn't allow a lot of formatting. This is actually really one of the more complex layouts with a photograph and a caption under it. I invite you to take a look at my video that describes in sort of excruciating detail the format, the EPUB format, and what sits in it. Let's see if I can get that URL for you. So really, if you wanted to know the anatomy of the EPUB, the open digital publishing format, you can go to that website, that YouTube video, and hear an overview of it. Oh, I like this video because it works completely in paper. So I'm using a lot of paper models to show how the different pieces interact, as opposed to doing a screencast. You definitely want to get, this is a nice book, Elizabeth Castor's EPUB book. And so the alternate to the ebooks are the publications, the mashups, the data mashups that can happen on the mobile platforms. So for instance, you might have heard of Flipboard. It's a great mashup data collection tool that grabs RSS publications and formats them into a single page. Another thing you can do with these mobile apps is do ILS integrations, and you can find this one, the OPPL iLibrary HD for iPad. That's actually on iTunes, so you definitely want to go take a look at that. And Overdrive has some good stuff as well. How many people here are involved with Overdrive or any of the mobile applications or developments from the vendors. Dolly, what are you working on?
And I just use it. I just use it. Sorry, I don't develop it.
What are you using?
I use Overdrive. I also use the Kindle for iPhone, and I have actually, we wanted to see if there was a way to use the Kindle for iPhone to download Overdrive books onto your iPhone now that they have that kind of lending, and there is, but it's exceptionally complicated. The Overdrive app is obviously the simpler way to go about doing that, but it's interesting to know that you can, if you have Kindle for iPhone or iPad, still download Overdrive books to it.
So it's many dozens of steps, or just too complicated, huh?
Yeah, I think you actually have to, because you go through the Overdrive provided by your library, and then you have to go into your Amazon account and actually download it physically from Amazon and go that way, whereas if you use the Overdrive app, you just download it, and that's it.
Okay, another way to define Web 3.0, I've heard it defined, I've seen it defined, is location-based, the location-based internet. So using location services to provide data. And location-based services offer all of these things. So it's interesting that it generates a large data sets, large amounts of data on the back end of these systems. And how many of you have location services turned on? How many of you are using an iPhone or an Android device that allow the system to track where you are? Is that Liberman? Do you have a mic? Do you want to tell us about the applications you're using? Okay. So really interesting, some interesting stuff happening here. If you go to Crunchbase, take a look at Crunchbase if you're interested in seeing what's happening in the Silicon Valley specifically, and really with venture capital and executives and people moving around the companies. It's a really good place to take a look at. So Marissa Mayer, I think one of the first women in the engineering side of Google, was recently, well, last year she was transferred to Location Local Services, which at the time seemed like a demotion for her. But then a little bit after that, we saw that Google bought Motorola Mobility for something like $12 billion. So a large amount of money being spent by Google for location-based services. And let me have you all play this sound clip. This is from This Week in Google. And go ahead and play this sound clip, and when you're done, raise your hand, because this is 4 or 5 different people talking about what's happening with Google and mobile services, including Robert Scoble, who I'll talk about in just a sec. So go ahead and click on this link and then press hand up when you're done listening. It's about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, great. So you heard definitely the beginnings of a definition of Web 3.0 there. That was Leo Laporte of Twit.tv, Jeff Jarvis of City University of New York, Robert Scoble, who's probably the first commercial blogger, blogged for Microsoft, and actually is a graduate of San Jose State, Jennifer Van Grove with Mashable.com. So they were describing how Google is reinventing mobile and search, and how that has really strong possibilities for being another candidate for what we would call Web 3.0. So other examples are Facebook Places, Google Places, and Foursquare, and GoWalla. Who in the audience, who here in the room have used any of these 4, or use them right now actually? Who's using GoWalla or Foursquare? Yeah, I just saw an article describing how use of Twitter and Foursquare by brands, by corporations, is dropping off in favor of Facebook. So Facebook's becoming predominant among brands and corporations. It's interesting how it moves and changes so quickly. So probably the most cited version for this definition, Web 3.0, is the semantic web, or linked data. And really good definition of this topic by Walt Mossberg of the New York Times in May of 2009, and they had the conference is called All Things D. It's an annual conference. If you take a look at that article, it's pretty interesting. They talk about 3.0 is thin clients and cloud-based computing. So clean, simple software, cloud-based data and services. So the example they give at the time was iPhones, iPhone Touch, iPod Touch, and how quickly they were selling units and attracting apps, 35,000 apps. So in 9 months. So that was their definition, these thin clouds, thin clients. And on those clients, the semantic web, so machines talking to machines. And they are creating intelligent agents, as Tim Berners-Lee said in 1999. If you search at Tim Berners-Lee, you'll see a lot of good information on linked data in the semantic web. Let's take a look at one application. Let's all take a look at Wolfram Alpha. Let me get you a link. I want to run you through an exercise here to look at how common your name is. Let's see here. So if you go to that link and type in your given name, it will tell you, it will give you some interesting charts, an interesting chart about your name. So go there and then look for your given name. So given name Chris, given name Ann, given name Frank. I have a teacher here, well, a faculty member, Lily Luo, who just had a daughter named Audrey. And so I thought, Audrey, that's a very classic name. And it is. You can see Audrey really peaked in the late 20s. I guess that would be Audrey, sort of an Audrey Hepburn. But take a look lately at that name. Has had a real upswing in the last 10 years. I thought that was very interesting. So it's a name that's starting to gain fashion. It's fun and it's interesting, but the important thing to look at in Wolfram Alpha is that there is source information for any of your queries. So if you look for the calories of a banana, or any kind of ready reference sort of questions that you would ask of the system, it will show you 2 or 3 or 5 different databases that it's pulling the information from. So this is a really good example of a semantic web browser, Wolfram Alpha, a semantic web browser. And actually, if you use the Siri application on the new iPhone, oh, Joletta, wow, yeah, I can see why. That's a great name. So if you use the Siri application on the iPhone and ask it generic search phrases, search information, it will pull results from Wolfram Alpha. Thought that was interesting. So that probably by far is the most traffic that Wolfram Alpha gets is not from the website, but actually from the iPhones, from the mobile space now. I mean, if there are 4 million headsets, 4 million handsets that are plugged into Wolfram Alpha for any kind of search, that's it's got to increase their traffic quite a bit. So, and there you have the strongest competition for the reference desk and ready reference that exists. The ability to pick up your phone and ask how many calories are in a banana, and it will tell you. Or I asked, one of the other things I asked was, what is Walter Isaacson's, how old is Walter Isaacson? Just like that. I just picked up the phone, how old is Walter Isaacson? Now, Walter Isaacson is the author who wrote the latest Steve Jobs biography. And the phone told me, right off the bat, Walter Isaacson and the year he was born. That's really powerful to be able to do that. So does anybody have an iPhone 4S? I don't have one yet. I just went to the store and poked around with one. Does anybody have any experiences with the iPhone 4S? Well, if you want to see a number of articles, a number of chapters in this book, short chapters, easy to digest chapters on library mashups. So how to deliver data out of the library in multiple ways with software and with devices. Check out this book. It's an excellent book, a couple of years old, Nicole Engard's, with a foreword by Jenny Levine. Mashups, web2learning.net. So mashup, being able to pull data from a number of different sources and then deliver it to patrons. Let me skip back a little bit here and tell you about two other sources. Here we go. So we took a look at Wolfram Alpha, and then you did that quick search for your name. But there are another couple of more technical sites. One is, I'll go to the bottom there, Many Eyes. Many Eyes from IBM allows you to pull data sources, put data sets into the tool, as well as use other things that people have placed there. So if you go to Many Eyes, you'll see a list of a number of different databases, interesting databases, that just random strangers have come and placed into that system. And then you can do data visualizations off of that Many Eyes. So if you're familiar with Wordle, where you have take a set of text and then create a word chart out of it, you can do those there. Even more technical, though, is Patchbay. It's P-A-C-H-U-B-E. Patchbay out of the UK is a web-based service that people have hooked up real-time data to. So if you have, I showed you some of those microcontrollers, if you have a temperature sensor on a thermometer, outside your window, and it's connected to the microcontroller, which is connected to your computer, and that would do weather reporting, temperature reporting real time. You can patch that data, that sensor, into Patchbay and deliver data into it. While other people maybe are interested in putting together a map of temperatures from 5 or 6 states, can pull those data sources together and do things with them. So Patchbay is really a community. It's a technology, but it's a website that allows people to publish real-time data from their applications as well as pull them down. So take a look at Patchbay. It's an incubator for the semantic web applications, and there are actually a number of those. Does anybody have any other interesting semantic web links, semantic web developments or resources they want to share? Okay, I showed you the microcontrollers and the Internet of Things with the CIFIO cubes and the Arduino microcontrollers. And then I showed you the class where we coded iPad applications and iPhone applications and also created ebooks for those platforms. And now I want to show you the immersive web, the 3D web. This is another definition that people are using, another set of technologies and developments that people are using to call Web 3.0. So how many of you play World of Warcraft? Just out of curiosity. Anybody in here play massively multiplayer online role-playing game? How many of you have Kinect or the Xbox at home? Oh, great. So Jennifer and Joletta, do you have any of the, I saw some demos, I don't have the thing, but I've seen some demos where you can use the Kinect to interact with virtual pets. Have you ever seen one of those, the demos with the virtual pet interactions where you're standing in front of the television, the pet is on the television and you can pet it and roll it and throw it sticks and things like that? It's really interesting that the sensor, the camera sensor, can see where your body is in space in front of the television and then interact and change the characters on the television. I thought that was really some interesting stuff. You know, I went and chatted with Microsoft a little bit at EDUCAUSE, the trade show for educational technology, and that platform is just not hackable. So it's pretty difficult to think that you're going to create some sort of software to work in a particular learning situation. You really have to work with their software. It's a pretty closed platform. So I want to show you another video that I think is really interesting, and let me get the link for you. This is Common Craft. If you haven't seen their work, it's been really, really good. They put together these very easy to understand videos, and this one is on augmented reality. So I'm going to hit enter here and then go ahead and click on the link, and when you're done with this video, go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, I think that's a great video, a simple overview of augmented reality. And I want to tell you about a fully immersive, you log in, have an avatar kind of virtual reality. Yeah, metadata for reality. That's a great way to put it, Frank. So here's an example of a heads-up display in your viewer for this virtual environment, Second Life. So you can see all the different things as you're looking at someone's watch there. You can see all these different things, different controllers. Here is the system I worked on. This is the ability to blog to the web from inside the environment. Here is a different flavor of blogging tool. This is a little controller that helps you to move your avatar around so you can smile and jump up and down or whatever. And this is, you can see, another blogging tool here. And this is a chat recorder, so everything you chat gets sent out to the internet. And then the things down on the bottom are regular. Well, here's a down here on the bottom right, there's a sensor that tells you who is nearby. So these are all things that were created by the community. They weren't created by the people who code, who program Second Life. So this is what it looks like. This is the tool that we created. Remember, I was telling you about 3 projects. We talked about the Internet of Things, so these microcontrollers and a small play device. Then we talked about the e-books and web apps. And this is the immersive web, another way of thinking of Web 3.0, the immersive web. So here's an example of being able to walk around in this avatar environment in Second Life and interact with the real web, interact with the data from the web by posting blogs here on the top, or by calling out for information. So you can see down here on the right there, that is a device that allows the avatar to chat something into the keyboard and talk, and then that device chats back out a definition. So in this case, I asked it define avatar, and then it went to a resource and found a definition for avatar. So this is a really interesting example of text moving in and out. But also what happens here in Sloodle is the ability for the system to build objects. So you can interact, grab data from outside, say Wikipedia, or link data, or data from out on the web, and bring it in and model it in 3D. So here's another example of text going back and forth, the RSS display. But here's an example of the avatar creates something, like a homework, or a car, or a building, or builds something, and then places it into this Dropbox. And then the teacher or the other students can come and take a look at those objects. So actually, let me show you a quick video here. sorry, actually. Oh, here we go. Well, let me show you a press release. Sorry. So there's a press release there about the system that I created for Angel. There's also Moodle. There's a Moodle version, but also an Angel version for the Angel Learning Management System, and you can see the press release there. So not only are you able to get data back and forth in the form of text, so the avatar types something in, and then the system goes out to the web, gets some information, brings it back, but you can actually interact with 3D, with built objects and models using data from the web. So that's really interesting, an interesting portal. So each one of these systems has sort of a technical, this is my mental model, right? This is a mental model of how the system overall works, how the mashup works all together. Each one of these systems, the e-books and the microcontrollers, they all have, I guess in my head, I mean, they all have this sort of a view of how the system works. And I'm not going to go into depth about this, but you can see that there's a web browser, there's 3D models, and by passing data back and forth from the web database to the 3D models, you can get interesting interactions happening. So that's an interesting kind of a data flow, sort of an overview of the system and how it works. So how will we define Web 3.0? We talked about Internet of Things, and I showed you an example of that. We talked about web apps, and I showed you some student projects on that topic. I also showed you a project done in the immersive web, with 3D visualization. And then also very typical definition of Web 3.0 would be the mobile web and the semantic web. So I would define Web 3.0, if you put all these together, a small personal devices that have senses. They sense location, they sense other devices around them, and they connect to the internet for intelligence and data. But they predict what you want to know, not what you ask for. They predict what you want to know. And they predict what you want to do. That's key. What do you want to do? They give that information to you in context and deliver data visualizations on that information. So from a librarian's perspective, we went from paper, printing press, to card catalogs, to machine readable, to large repository CDs and PCs to gather remote information, like to log into mainframes and gather remote information, to read-only web, to the social web. That's probably the most common thing that people are libraries now are kind of working through right now. But you, when you graduate, will be able to and interested and involved in small personal devices that gather sensor data, use the internet for intelligence, predict intentions, deliver contextualized information. So it's not just data, it's contextualized for your context. And it's formatted for you to use together with other people right now. That's how I would define Web 3.0 based upon all of these different versions of what Web 3.0 is. So how do you define Web 3.0? I'm curious to hear what your definitions are. This is just one possible definition. It sounds like we have some makers here. We have some folks who are involved in working with ebooks. We have folks who work with mobile devices. So it sounds like we're all, I think the SLIS students are going to be the furthest along in really what's next, right? What's new. All of your knowledge together is just gold for people who are out in the field right now who want to know what's next. Right? You have that experience, you have that personal relationship right now with these technologies. So that's yeah, that is my thesis then. How will we define Library 3.0, or I'm sorry, Internet 3.0, Web 3.0? And the answer is we will make it. So your expertise and your knowledge and understanding moving forward will build Web 3.0. And that's what I have for you so far. It's a lot of information. It's kind of probably too many slides, but I'm honored that I was asked to come and present. Frank and Sarah, I really appreciate the time you've put into it, and I hope that's useful. And we've got the recording as well, so we'll get it transcripted. And thank you very much, Diane. Thank you, Joletta. Is it Yoletta or Joletta?
Joletta.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeremy. That was that was super interesting. I was just curious. Are you open to taking questions? I'm guessing you're done with your talk now. Okay, I just had one question. A lot of this stuff is all really new information to me. I have one word really, wow. That was a lot of really interesting information. I'm going to have to go back and listen to the recording and follow up on some of those links you gave. At the end you were talking about Web 2.0, I mean Web 3.0, and you mentioned sort of the predictive capabilities being built into it. But isn't that one of the, I guess there's been some criticism of that as well, that the predictive features of some of these things that we're finding coming up on the web now, in a sense, almost act as filters on information. So they may actually sort of put us into an information bubble. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess my response to that is an excellent talk by Ellie Pariser by TED on Beware the Online Filter Bubble. I think that's definitely an important, it's definitely right on the radar, this thought. And actually that was, Frank, I don't think you didn't make it to the ASIST conference in New Orleans, but that was the student contest, and we actually had one of our students was on the winning team looking at trying to break out of that filter bubble. It's interesting to look at Google results and be amazed at how self-referential they are. If you are logged into Google and have cookies or have an account on Google, it's going to give you information that's very relatable to who you are and your previous search experience and your location too. And it's also interesting to look at Facebook and to see how Pavlovian kind of it presents the news results. If you click on friend A multiple times because she's got pretty pictures of her baby up, versus friend B who only posts once every 2 weeks but gives a job tip that would help you get a job, you're going to get friend A's pretty pictures of babies and not friend B's job tip, even though friend B's job tip probably is really what you want to see. So the systems I think right now are clumsy and awkward, but I think they're going to get a lot better. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, Frank. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I really have a well-formulated sort of position or stance on that right now. I do remember, I think I saw that Ellie Pariser talk. I don't know if I saw it all the way through, but that's the first time I sort of heard this concept. And then I went down to Internet Librarian, you know, back in October. I didn't make it out to ASIST, unfortunately, but maybe next year. And there was some sessions that were dealing with like search, sort of power search tips. And there was, I can't remember who the presenter was, but they were pointing out some of the things that you just brought up, like Google searches. They said, you know, try. I think there's a way to change your identity. You know, try doing Google searches with different accounts. Try doing. There was a sort of a identity-free Google. I think it was called Scroogle or something like that. And she was just really highlighting the way in which the information that we think when we're using Google, we're kind of getting everything that the best information and everything that's possible to get. But it's interesting to see how tailored the information can really be. You know, it's definitely something to be paying attention to. Thanks, Krista. Did you go to her talk? Yeah, that's right, Patricia. The Mary Ellen also talked about you know, Google searches. They know where you're searching from, and so the searches are also tailored to where they think you are when you're typing in the search query.
Yeah, I'm looking for that talk. That's a great tip.
Have you heard of Scroogle? I just heard about it the first time in Mary Ellen's talk. It's sort of this identity-free way of searching Google. I don't know how they do that exactly.
I heard the term just because it's so memorable, but I haven't really looked at it, no. Does anybody have any ideas on what did I leave out? What are some definitions of Web 3.0 that I kind of didn't touch on here? Okay, great. So thanks, Patricia. Let's wrap it up then. And Frank, do you want to finish off?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I can probably safely speak for everyone in saying that was a very information-packed talk. Thanks so much, Dr. Kemp. That yeah, I really don't have anything more to say about it. When you asked just now about anything that you may have missed, that I almost sort of chuckled to myself because I think you covered a lot of bases. So that ends it for the talk. Thanks to everyone for coming. And I'll just go ahead and hand it off to Sarah. She usually does a little closeout here at the end to sort of talk about our just put in a sentence or two about our chapter.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kemp, for your fascinating presentation. Thank you, Frank, as moderator, for organizing this program. And also thank you to everyone for attending our World Usability Day talk event tonight. I hope to see you all again at our next program. For those of you who haven't already, please consider joining the ASIST student chapter, as we have many exciting things planned for the upcoming year and would love for you to join us. In addition, our next business meeting will take place at the end of November with a date and time to be announced shortly. And now I will turn the mic over to Dr. Kemp again, who I believe will be speaking about the usability scavenger hunt.
Okay, great. I just marked the recording there so we can find this start. We are a few hours after the end of that scavenger hunt, and it looked like it melted down to some degree. Frank, did you get any more information than I did about that? Looks like the posting system broke.
Yeah, I suspected we might hit that because when we had that tagging issue earlier on, and then we got the feedback from the Tumblr support guy, he said his first response was, you know, the site has a limit of 100 posts a day. Maybe it's something related to that. And then I immediately thought, oh, 100 posts a day. We're going to hit that pretty soon. So it appears that's what happened. No, the last email I saw from Feline was if we were posting things which weren't showing up before the deadline, that we could email her that information directly, and you know, it would get counted. It would take it into account.
Well, do you want to start using the screens here to post up our entries and just take turns? Whoever wants to post, go ahead and post. Let me make folks moderators. Can I go ahead and make folks moderators?
Yeah, sure. The you know, the other thing we could do is just app share the blog, and then just, I think, or the leaderboard, and if you just click on the team names, it'll just show all the posts for that team, and then we could kind of scroll through them that way. Yeah, you know, as far as does everyone have Feline's email? I think if you posted something that didn't make it onto the blog, then I think what we should just do is each individual just send an email to her with the picture and sort of the caption, as if you were going to post it to the Tumblr site, and just let her know that you sent this in before the deadline, but it never got onto the blog.
I'm looking for that email from her. Okay, right. And then she also wanted some tags on those emails too, right?
Yeah, what I would do is just, you know, send the email to her as if you were posting it to the site. You know, go ahead and attach or embed the image into the picture. Put the you know, the title caption, and then the tags on it, and then just send it to her instead of the Tumblr address. I don't think they were actually going to judge this until Saturday. Is that correct? Or they were going to announce it on Saturday?
Yeah, the email I got from her said, please send one post per email to communications@kaifu.org. Put usability hunt in the subject line. The caption, category, and team tags can be in the body of the email. So what I'm going to do with my own posts is take the email that I had sent to you know, the Tumblr blog, and just put communications@kaifu.org in the to address, and that'll go real fast. And then usability hunt in the subject line. I only have 3 or 4, so I think that should go pretty quick. But let's go ahead and show some. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these entries. So who did good direction? Frank, this is urban. This looks like yours. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, that one was. I didn't feel very creative on it. I was just trying to do just trying to get fill in some holes on the category. It was I think the category was controls are arranged in such a way that it's easy to figure out or use the system, and they have new meters in San Francisco now where, you know, you can use credit cards, money, or prepaid parking cards, and it just they're you know, that's a lot of options and a lot of different ways in which you could interact with it. And I thought they did a reasonably good job of you know, buttons and directions on the meter. So that's why I posted that picture.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything really substantially stronger for the other teams either.
Some of my other pictures I liked a little better. There were a couple I was kind of felt good about, but that one was, I don't know, felt like I was, I don't know, not copping out, but it just seemed like something just sort of quick and dirty.
Does someone from Team 2 want to talk about this one?
That one's mine. I'm just the medical librarian, so that's one of the ones I instantaneously knew about for, I can't even remember what I posted it at this point. I sent like so many pictures. What did I put it on as? There we go. It was a good mobile app. That's right. It's very easy to use. And, you know, you can just enter a food name and it gives you lots of quick information on it. It's great.
How about this one, Good Special? This one I had a hard time. Oh, DVD cleaning machine had no visible power button or way to use it. Wow.
Yeah, that one's mine, and I hate that thing. And I remember the very first time I walked up to it being just incredibly confused by it. So.
Do you use that in a library? Is that where that is located?
Yeah, and it's actually like a $5,000 machine. I mean, it's really, really good at doing what it does, but it's very complicated. The best part about it is the power button is located in the very back under several cords, so even finding the power button is a huge issue.
So it looks like Sandra did this one with the commuters only, the no sleepovers. So it has the bars in the bench. Is that right?
Looks like Sandra went over to audio setup.
This is more pictures from San Francisco, right?
Yeah, that was mine. I posted it as bad special, and then I changed my mind. You know, you see these bike signs. They're pretty common, but I was always kind of thinking, well, what message are they conveying? Are they trying to tell bikes that this is the way they should, you know, this is safe? Is it meant more for the drivers? Is it kind of meant for both? And then I thought, well, you know, it kind of works at a subliminal level, maybe like advertising, where, you know, car drivers, it's very nonverbal. You know, they just sort of see the sign, and they maybe it sort of becomes part of the collective consciousness that these roads are sort of bike friendly, and that so I wanted to actually change the tag, but that was one of the ones I wasn't able to post and change. So I think I changed it from bad special to, I wanted to change it from bad special to good special.
You know, Portland, I used to live in Portland, and the airport has, the way that they've landscaped the road into the airport causes traffic calming. So the trees start out on this long road, the trees start out kind of a little bit further apart, and then over time, as you're traveling into the airport, the trees get closer and closer together. So they do that intentionally to give you a sense of you know, speed. As you're watching these trees, they're getting closer and closer together. It slows down the cars automatically. So it's a subliminal way to do traffic calming. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah, I think maybe those bike signs on the road, that's sort of a similar thing. It's kind of a way, like a calming or a subliminal calming message, sort of. Yeah. Anyhow, so I sort of changed my mind on that.
Is Sandra on mic now? Yeah, I like this one so much I emailed my wife and sent it over. You know, we've got a couple of girls at home, so they love this stuff. My 6-year-old is just getting into friendship bracelets, and she's crazy for them. So this kind of this is really interesting. Does somebody want to talk about the? Was this the same person, the girl up and crowd rise? Yeah, Frank, is this your volume knob?
Yeah, it's my volume knob.
So yeah, audio files know. Was it the less attenuation of the decibels? The more attenuation of the decibels, the less the volume.
It reminds me a little bit of that. Did you ever see Spinal Tap, where the guys are talking about their amps go to 11 and everyone else's amps go to 10?
Yeah, I did this one. I wonder though, you know, the shape doesn't really tell you what it does. So in that sense, it's not really a good shape from a usability perspective. But it does feel like, you know, a stone you pick up that feels just the right weight. It has that sort of feeling to it. I find them almost too small, but I've got, you know, big hands, so they're for kids. But they seem almost too small to me. And I think they could probably get more interaction out of them because these things, they don't have a speaker in them. All the sound comes out of the laptop. And there's no touch screen, it's just a button. So you press the screen in and the whole thing depresses and clicks once. So I wonder if they had a little bit bigger, they could have gotten more into these, but then you're talking cell phones. So it was an interesting shape, and it's a great, interesting product. Those three, by the way, cost $150. So, and it's only 128 pixels on a side, so they're really kind of low res, no sound, and it's really a beginning product, but it does some interesting stuff. Who did the beer bottles?
I think Jessica was doing a lot of posting this morning for SLIS 1, and but she said she wasn't going to be able to make it to this meeting.
Does anyone know what this medical symbol means when it's on an elevator? That is just a great photo to denote a sound problem.
I really wondered if the medical symbol meant something like it could fit a stretcher or something along those lines, but I don't know.
Yeah, the two elevators here in Clark Hall are identical in size, but maybe this one can be turned on. I don't know. I didn't really get this one, the postcard. Is this another one from you, Frank?
No, this wasn't mine.
I thought this one was particularly good because it's more in the traditional HCI realm. Do the retailers pay for these spaces?
I'm not sure how that was funded. I think no, the retailers didn't pay for it. It's actually a citywide sort of thing that's going on in San Francisco, and they're really popular. You're seeing them in a lot of commercial districts. They're putting in these little parklets, and they're kind of doing. They all look very different too. It looks like they're turning artists loose on them, and they seem to be really popular with the community.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, pavement to parks. That's great. I think this is Jessica's, the Hooters one and the Abercrombie and Fitch. And then this looks like, is it optional? I don't understand how that little trapdoor works.
That was mine. I've seen that on these. You know, they put the little recycle sort of bin on top of the trash can, so you don't throw your glass bottles into the trash can. But then there's a little trapdoor underneath there, and I've seen on so many trash cans now it's just open, so it's sort of I don't know. It almost sort of discourages you. I just thought, you know, why recycle when it's just going to go right into the trash? It seems sort of silly.
Was this one asking, was the Foursquare check-in, was that the direction? Yeah, I took a look at the video. If you go to that Low Creep website, take a look at the video. It came out of a New York City meetup, like a technology meetup, and they did a demo of it. And it's funny, if you look through their terms of service, they tell people coming to their website to refrain from defamatory language. So it's interesting. In the terms of service for their website, it says don't leave defamatory information for us, and yet the website sort of, the whole point of the website is to defame other people. It's really ironic. So Jen, if you have items that you sent into the Tumblr system, go ahead and resend those to the Kaifu, the communications website, the communications email address, and they'll get posted. Jen, is that EcoRoot? Is that yours?
That's mine.
Where did you find this?
It's a. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Okay, the mic made a funny icon change on me. The EcoRoot app is part of my satellite navigation for my Garmin that my dad gave me. And you plug in all of the specifications for like what kind of car you have, how big the engine is, all of those kinds of things. And then when planning routes, you have the option of picking the eco route, which will get the most out of your gas so that you can use less.
This, I think this is my favorite of the ones I submitted. There's a big I on the post, and it's a larger letter than any other letter on the post. And if you're coming from that side and you don't notice that it has a blue light on the top, it really does look like an information kiosk. So what should we do in terms of cleaning all this up and rearranging stuff? It seems like some of the stuff got posted in the wrong place. When they cleaned it up, they put it in the wrong place. So, gosh, it's a shame that the system didn't work as they thought it might. Sorry about that, everyone.
That's my favorite icon. I wish I could have posted that icon.
Which one was that?
The wobbly face. The wobbly face. I don't know what to call it. It's evocative.
The frowny face in the Illuminate participant window, right?
Yeah, it makes me very, very happy. Very, very fun little face.
Well, to answer your question, Jeremy, it seems like really it would just entail a little extra work for folks. But if there's stuff that you really wanted to get posted that didn't make it onto the blog, I think you could just send it to that email that you gave in the chat window. Or was that communications? I think it was at kaipu.org. It seems like we'll just have to do it manually if we want that stuff to be counted.
Yeah, that's irony, all right. Well, okay, so if you don't see things posted in your correct team, just send them to that email, and let's find that. Okay, so we looked at the entries. We saw Team 1, Team 2. Looks like it's all sort of jumbled and confused like that. I think it is something that we might consider doing next year. I mean, if folks are interested, we might be able to pull something off using a similar system, but use systems like some sort of PHP on our own servers to make it more solid. Just send me an email. Just send an email indicating that what you did, the titles. Okay, I think that wraps it up, huh, Frank?
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how what comes out of it when they announce it at the end there. But it was fun. It was yeah. I wish there hadn't been so many snafus. Could have spent a little bit more time sort of just in the actual activity instead of trying to deal with all the technical stuff. But it was so fun regardless. Thanks for suggesting it.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll win.